So here is the solving equations worksheet, worksheet 1 in the prerequisite unit. I'm going to go over the entire thing, even though we did a few in class, because I want to make sure that anyone who needs to hear them again can. When solving equations, you want to remember to isolate the variable. In number 1, we have one variable, which is good, but it's not by itself yet. So what we actually have to do is combine these because they're on the same side of the equal sign. We're not going to add or subtract from both sides. We need to just combine them so we're looking at it as one piece. So 4k and 4k make 8k. So we have 8k equals 0. And then I would divide by 8 on both sides because 8 is being multiplied by the k right now technically. So we would divide by 8 on both sides. And then the good thing about this example is it reminds you 0 divided by anything is simply 0. Now if this were the other way around, if it were 8 divided by 0, that's undefined. It's impossible to divide something by 0. You can't do it. If I told you to take something and split it into 0 pieces, you wouldn't be able to. You would have to just stay with what you have. But it's an impossible thing to do. So that is why you have that. 6x and 2x make 8x, so on number 2 we're going to combine those like terms, set that equal to 0, divide by 8 on both sides, and again you're going to get 0 because 0 divided by a number is okay, a number divided by 0 is not okay. So there are the first 2 examples. Moving on to number 3, we need to combine like terms again because we have the same variable on the same side, so the negative 13 will just come down. A negative 6 and a negative 7 make a negative 13. So we have negative 13 equal to negative 13n. To isolate the variable, because negative 13 is being multiplied to the n, we need to divide because division undoes multiplication. And now anytime you have a number divided by itself in both of these circumstances, it cancels out, but it doesn't cancel to 0. A fraction will always cancel to 1 or reduce down to 1. So we get 1 equals n. On number 4, again, here's my equal sign. I have the same variable on the same side of it, so I have to combine like terms. 1 is not a like term. 1 does not have a variable, so 1 is just going to come down for the ride. And then I'm going to have 1 plus 10p equals 1. Now to isolate this variable, I can't divide by 10 just yet because I have this 1 hanging on over here. Because it's a positive 1 and it's being added, I know that I can subtract it off. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. That's going to leave me with 10p equals 0. And now similar to 1 and 2, I would divide 10 on both sides and I would end up with p equals 0. In number 5, I can't do anything just yet. Some of you may want to divide by 7 on both sides in this step. That is absolutely fine. I just like to distribute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down the negative 112. And then on the right side of the equation, because I have 7 outside of this parentheses, I know 7 is being multiplied by both. So 7 needs to be distributed to the 3r and to the 4. So 7 times 3 is 21r. And because it's a negative, a positive 7 times a negative 4 is a negative 28. From here, I have a very easy equation. I just need to add 28 to both sides. So if you were a person who likes to show all your work, you would have this step with your equal sign. Cross out that. The 21r comes down on the right side of the equal sign. And then when you do negative 112 plus 28, you get negative 84. So you would have negative 84 on this side of the equal sign. From here, we would divide by 21. Again, we are trying to isolate the r. So because the 21 is touching r by multiplication, we divide. And negative 84 divided by 21 is negative 4. Make sure you're careful with your negatives. That's the place where people who go too fast will make mistakes. On number 6, again, I see those parentheses, so I know I'm going to have to distribute. So I'm going to bring down the negative 197. The 6 is also going to come down. When you distribute this 7, pay attention to the sign in front of it. That negative has to go with it. So negative 7 times 7 is negative 49m, not 49. And negative 7 times 6 is a positive 42, not a negative. Pay very close attention to those signs. I'm going to keep going now. The negative 197 is going to come down. I need to combine my 6 and 42 to make 48 because those are my like terms on the right side of my equation. And now I see that I have my variable over here. I need to get rid of this 48. It's being subtracted, but it's positive, so I'm going to subtract it on both sides over here. Now a negative subtracted, a number subtracted from a negative is going to give us a lower negative number technically, sorry. It will look higher as far as what we're used to, 100 and 200, but it's technically a lower number. So I have negative 245, and that's going to equal negative 49m. And now I can divide. Remember, when you divide a negative by a negative, you're going to end up with a positive number, so you get 5 equals m. In number 7, this is different because now I have a variable on different sides of the equation. It does not matter if you choose to move the 2n or choose to move the 6n. I always try to move it so that I will have a positive variable. What I mean by that is if I did minus 6n from both, I would end up with a negative 4n over here, and I just don't like to have negatives on my variables. So what I'm going to choose to do is subtract 2n from both sides, giving me a negative 3 over here, and a 1 plus 4n. So now I have a nice positive variable, coefficient on my variable. And now I need to subtract this 1 over because it's not by itself just yet. So I have a negative 4 equals 4n. When you divide the 4 here, be careful. It's negative 4 divided by positive 4. So it's not going to be 1, it's going to be negative 1. Be very careful with those negatives. Moving on to number 8. We have a few things going on here. We have variables on different sides of the equation. In addition, we have the same variable on the same side, so we have to combine like terms. So I have a 4x and a negative 7x. Those will combine to be a negative 3x, and the plus 6 comes along for the ride. Over here I have a negative 1 that's going to come down for the ride because I have no like terms to combine it with. And then negative 4x and 2x will combine to negative 2x. From here, again, I want a positive variable. If I add 2x, I'm going to have a negative x, whereas if I add the 3x, I would have a positive x. So I'm going to choose to add the 3x. If you did it a different way, it would still 100% be the same answer. This is just the way that I like to do my equations. So now I have a positive x here. And then when I add the 1 over to cancel that out, I just end up with 7 equals x. And because that's a positive x, I have my answer right there. I don't need to worry about dividing a negative out. In number 9, I see my eyes are drawn to this first, so I know I'm going to have to distribute. So I'm going to automatically bring down the left side of my equation. Bring down that 3. And now 7 and 6 make 42. 7 and negative 3b make negative 21b. I now see that I need to combine these two numbers. So again, the left side's going to come down. 3 and 42 make 45. Excuse me, negative 3. I thought I did something wrong. I did not see that negative. That negative comes down. So that's actually going to be 39 minus 21b. And from here, again with that positive, I'm not going to bring this 2 over. I'm going to bring the 21 because I want a positive variable. So I'm going to add 21b to both sides. The 1 comes down. Negative 2 and 21b make 19. So 1 plus 19b equals 39. Now I need to subtract 1 from both sides. I get 19b equals 38. And when I divide by 2, because I need to get, or excuse me, when I divide by 19, I get 2. Because 19 is being multiplied to the b. So we divide 19 and we get b equals 2. On number 10, again I see those parentheses, so I know I'm going to have to distribute. So I just copy everything down. I have a negative out here with my coefficient on the distribution, so I need to pay attention. Negative times a negative is a positive 18b, and it would be a negative 12. From here, I have nothing to combine on the left side, so I bring it back down. On the right side, that 2 and negative 12 need to combine to become a negative 10. And then the 18v comes with it. Now I am going to subtract 8v because I want a positive variable. So I have 40 equals negative 10 plus 10v. If I add 10 to both sides, I will get 50 equals 10v. And now I know that 5 is v when I divide. So there are all your steps there. Number 11 and number 12 people freak out about because there's fractions. Fractions are your friends. Please remember that. A good way to do this is to use your calculator, but you just need to remember that math is consistent. So even though we have this yucky looking fraction, which I think is beautiful, but I say yucky because that's what I know my students say. 8/7n. That's going to come down. I have two of the same variable, so I need to combine these like terms. We have a beautiful thing called technology. So if you were to use your calculator, here we go, and get a fraction, so if you hit Control Divide, a fraction will come up. You can type in -5/3, hit plus, and do 7/8. Hit enter, and there, that beautiful technology gives us -19/24n. So again, you are doing the exact same thing, you just have to let technology help you. Now in algebra, you did learn how to do these without the calculator. I am not requiring us to get that in depth right now, simply because I just want to make sure that you realize, hey, fractions aren't that scary. Let's use the technology we have available to us and go from there. So in this step, because now I have my n's, I would subtract 8/7n on both sides. With fractions, it's a little bit harder to guess which one's going to make it positive, so I kind of just go with whichever one I decide that I want to move. So I would subtract 8/7n to both sides, and that would leave me with -325/168n. And then again, math is consistent. You would divide each side by this fraction, this -325/168. Please don't think I'm doing this in my head. I already did it on a calculator. So I'm just writing down what I got because I showed you guys how the calculator will help you through this. You get 2 = n. For number 12, again, math is consistent. We're just going to use our same steps we would, and we just are happening to deal with fractions right now. So I'm going to combine my two x's on this side. The 157/35 comes along for the ride. When I combine the 10/7 x and the 1/3 x, I get 37/21 x's. And now again, you kind of just decide which way you want to go. So I'm going to move the 6/5 x over. So I would subtract 6/5 x from both sides, and that would give me 59/105x. And I'm going to do 2 steps in one here. If you're not comfortable with this, you do not have to, but I know I would have to subtract again my 6/5 x from both sides, which I did, so that's gone now, and this has reduced down to here. But now, because I know that I'm going to have to move this guy over to this side, I'm going to also, in this step, subtract my 157/35 from both sides. Oh, that's a little messed up of a 3. There we go. So when you do that, again, I'm using a calculator for this. I'm not doing any of this in my head. -59/35. Because this has the x attached to it, I would divide 59/105 from both sides, and our technology will help us with that. And we now have -3 = x. So in 11 and 12, I don't want you to be worried about it. I just want you to realize fractions will work the exact same way anything else will. We just need to use technology to help us figure out what those are. So if you still are struggling with equations, please make sure you come and see me. Other than that, I will see you in class. Have a great day.